Technologies group of businesses that began its journey in a garage and now has a market valuation in excess of rupees 3 lakh crore rupees. Dr. Ajay Chaudhary had his education in electronics and telecommunication engineering from Jabalpur Engineering College and the University of Michigan, US later on. Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, recently used a metaphor that starting a company is like jumping off a cliff and building an airplane on the way down. That explains how difficult it is today to start and grow a new business. But situation was very different when these 6 young boys were dreaming to revolutionize an empty landscape into a vibrant digital economy. In an era characterized as license raj and controlled regime, they broke innumerable barriers, undaunted by challenges and undeterred by setbacks, and gave our nation the early personal computers. We talk about ecosystem today, but there was nothing then except restrictions. But the team was innovative and to find their way forward. They could secure something like venture capital funding to start a joint sector company with government bodies such as UP Electronics Corporation. There was no venture funding companies in those days. When Apple gave the world a personal computer for the first time, almost concurrently, HCL started marketing personal computers in India and soon in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and even in US. Under the able leadership of Dr. Chaudhary, HCL saw phenomenal growth and emerged as the most trusted Indian IT brand that was selected by Economic Times in 2010-11. Dr. Chaudhary and team laid the foundation of Indian IT revolution. The world-class IT companies that we are proud today to have would not have been possible without the foundations that were laid by them. Thanks to them, the country has emerged as the proud IT superpower of the world, creating huge wealth for the nation, jobs for our educated youth, amassing huge foreign exchange reserves, and that transformed our own IT infrastructure into global class, world-class IT infrastructure. The present economic growth is squarely attributable to the unflinching courage and determination of this team to be successful. Dr. Chaudhary, the son of an IAS officer, was always rooted to the masses of our nation and has been driving a vision of IT for the masses. He has been promoting entrepreneurship as the chairman of the Electronics Sector Skill Council and chairman of FICCI Startup Committee. He has been heading many national level initiatives to further the entrepreneurial ecosystem, particularly in reaching the benefit of the digital revolution to the masses. Dr. Chaudhary has been enlisted among India's most powerful brand builders and has been adjudged among India Inc.'s most powerful CEOs by the Economic Times. He is also in the board of Indian Angel Network and has invested in many startups. He is also on the investment committee of IAN Fund and EDF Fund. As a recognition of his invaluable contribution to the digital transformation, he has been conferred with the prestigious Padma Bhushan, the DataQuest IT Person of the Year 2007, Electronics Man of the Year by CNBC Asia Business Award 2010, the India Innovator of the Year award by the Honorable Finance Minister Sri late Pranab Mukherjee in 2010, the Cyber Media Business ICT Award 2013 for Lifetime Achievement in ICT by Sri Narendra Modi in January 2014. He has been awarded honoris causa, that is DSC, by the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing, Jabalpur, in recognition of the significant contribution he has made to the Indian IT industry and thought leadership in the field. He was nominated by the Honorable President of India to be the chairman of IIT Hyderabad and then the chairman of IIT Patna. He has been appointed as the chairman of IIT Naya Raipur. His achievements and the various initiatives and leadership roles he played would make a complete book. We have so much to take inspirations from him to set our own journey moving forward. Without taking any more time, I'd like to request Dr. Chaudhary to please begin his talk. Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr.
Thank
Chaudhary.
you. Thank you, Manoj. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be among students in IIT Kharagpur. And I look back at when we started HCL, uh, Arjun Malhotra came from, one of my co-founders, Arjun Malhotra, came from IIT Kharagpur. So IIT Kharagpur has always had a very, very special place in the minds of everybody in HCL. And let me sort of talk about certain opportunities that are there today for entrepreneurs who come from various engineering backgrounds, etc. And what I thought was that today I will give you some view in terms of where the world is going in terms of technologies. And somewhere I will also talk about uh, looking at existing technologies and where are the opportunities in India for startups. So let me begin by saying that 66 million years ago, there was an asteroid that struck the Earth, and animals like dinosaurs could not adapt and got killed. COVID has arrived as another asteroid now, and a large number of companies will not survive if they do not adapt and change. AI technology will be another asteroid that has the power to reset the whole world. And India has to embrace it. And I think most organizations and managements will have to think about AI very seriously. Uh, if you don't understand AI and data analytics, you really cannot run any business anymore. And really, is pretty much like what happened when internet snuck up and advertising and entertainment industry were not awake and were clueless. If we look at the most valuable companies in the world today, 7 out of 10 are technology companies. In India also, 4 out of top 10 companies are technology or technology enabled companies. So what should we look forward to when deciding on startups that will make the grade? And this has to have great linkage to our strengths as a country. And also, we should look at creating a global market. So let me start with my area, which is where I started my life in college, which is electronics and telecom, and especially electronics. And if we look at electronics today, uh, it is really a meta resource. Fundamentally, electronics is everywhere. You think of automobiles, you think of medtech, you think of televisions, any product that you can think of. There is not a single product that does not have electronics. Now, given the current geopolitical situation, uh, looking at the way China has, acted on our borders, it's very important that we as a country start to look at being more resilient and more self-reliant. And the Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbhar, I think, is very timely. So a lot of new things are happening in electronics. I've been part of this journey for more than 40 years. And I've been part of many government committees to suggest what we should do. And I'm still involved in some of them. And our thinking has been that instead of just importing every component from different parts of the world, we should be making a lot of those components, including semiconductors. And why semiconductors? A lot of times this question is asked in the country. Why do we need to have semiconductors? And I would like to quote Senator Ben Sasse of the Intelligence Committee of the US, who said modern wars are fought with semiconductors. So there is a lot of opportunity that is coming up today for startups to look at electronics from semiconductors to full systems. And there is huge amount of import taking place today in the country of simple products like set-top boxes, CCTV cameras, uh, everything that you think of in a laptop or any of the large screen products. Everything is being imported, pretty much 80-90%. So therefore, there is an opportunity to create products in India for India and do it from chip to system. And therefore, there is a lot of incentives that are being made available in India by the government to help people do this. And you will see a large package being announced soon enough for even fabless companies. Fabless fundamentally means that you actually design chip in India and get it manufactured anywhere in the world. But fabless companies have mainly been in large companies. Fabless pieces have been largely in large companies like HCL. But we need to go forward and we need to have many, many small companies working on designing chips in India. And they should also be designing chips in India for Indian requirements. So, therefore, there is a very large opportunity for startups to look at today, that they should look at how to design chips and how to look at designing a full system, creating a Indian set-top box, creating all kinds of Indian products, and reduce our dependence on China. So I think there is that nice opportunity in my area, which I have been very familiar with. Let's take to the next area. The next area that I feel which will be very interesting for startups would be in the area of what is called the fintech stack or the India stack. Okay, the India stack was something that has been created based on the original plan to create the UID, the Aadhaar. And from Aadhaar, they led to a complete India stack, which was then called uh, India stack, and also many payment systems emerged from it also. So UPI today is a very major payment system, and they are talking today about achieving 1 billion transactions per day on UPI. So this has really, really taken off in the country. And what has happened around that, that people are going to be provided credit based on based on this kind of a setup, and a new network called OCEN, which is called the Open Credit Enablement Network. This will democratize credit. Today, you stand in line at a bank and you're waiting to get credit. I think what you will see with this stack and OCEN, that many startups will be able to utilize UPI, OCEN, and all these opportunities to make products in India. And a lot of startups have already started to do that, but more and more startups will have an opportunity to participate in this whole area of what is called fintech. There's huge opportunities. It's just a question of where your imagination takes you. Okay, so India, interestingly, if you look at, is far ahead of rest of the world in all the stacks that have been developed in the country. The first stack was the India stack, then the next stack was the payment stack, and the third one that is coming up is called the health stack. This health stack is something that is work in progress, but this is also uh, going to happen in the country. And why is this critical? Because we really do not know what is the background of each patient in the country, each human being, what is their medical record, what is their background. So all of this is going to get integrated into a health stack. And this health stack will enable anyone in the country to be able to have health records of people very securely. And also you will be able to create uh, software and products around this. And This Bharat Health Stack will become the platform that aims to offer multiple medical services. And I think this will boost research, this will boost connectivity, and this will also bring health services to be much cheaper for every person in the country, right down to every village. And utilizing this, huge amount of telemedicine and all other solutions are emerging, and more products and solutions will come up. So I think that is going to be a very, very large opportunity. And as I said, interestingly, we are far ahead of the rest of the world in creating this. Now, if we look at the newer areas that are opening up in the country, now let us look at space. Now, space tech is, I believe, going to be a very, very interesting area. India has been in the forefront of space exploration, what with the ISRO being very, very successful. In 2008, if you recall, India arrived seriously on the scene with a lunar probe called Chandrayaan. And Chandrayaan actually discovered water on the moon. This was followed up by the Mars orbiter mission called the Mangalyaan. But everything started to change in the world in space technology when Elon Musk introduced SpaceX, where they were using vertical takeoff and landing and reusable rockets. Bezos also came up with Blue Origin, and SpaceX created a whole bunch of newer opportunities for people to travel to these different planets. As a matter of fact, they are making bookings even now for the next 3-4 years to take people to the moon and take people to Mars much later. And India itself has a lot of technology that was developed indigenously in the space program. For example, if you look at the PSLV 37, it launched 104 satellites into space. So, as per the government's new thinking, what has happened is that the government has opened up space for and geospatial data and testing facilities for startups are now available. This will enable startups to work on space projects at a very cheap price. And ISRO is inviting startups to develop food and medicines for astronauts, better tools to access machines in a spacecraft, and green engines for the Gaganyaan. Space tech, by the way, is a 380 billion industry today and is expected to grow to a trillion in the next 2 decades. Now, this is by ISRO opening up the space area, it is democratized space tech for India. Investors are now talking about space tech having much more potential than the internet. Massive value can be unlocked in space tech stacks such as GPS, communications, geospatial intelligence, analysis, distribution, and management of data collected by existing space based infra and space based operation. Just GPS alone has generated trillions of dollars of economic value worldwide. Now, one of the most interesting parts of space for India has been the way we have actually used frugal innovation. Our cost has been a whole lot lower than NASA. So, if we don't look too far, it is believed that the momentum that has been created can unleash a wave of disruption that can go far beyond the space sector itself. Many innovations, by the way, happened due to space technology. For example, wireless, headsets, camera phones, CAT scans, electrolytic water purifiers. All of these happened due to the Apollo mission in the US. In India, a lot of interesting things are happening. Bharti has invested in a company called OneWeb, and we can see democratization of internet through that. They are going to have low-lying satellites that will deliver internet in India all over the country, despite instead of having to use fiber all over the country. Startups are appearing in the space.
Excuse me, sir, you were muted. You were muted. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm okay now.
Right, sir.
Yeah, startups. For example, it started with Team Indus in India, who wanted to participate in the Lunar X Prize by putting a rover on the moon. As a matter of fact, I personally invested in that company. And you can see names like Kawa, Pixel, Agnicool, Bellatrix, all these companies in India are startups working on very interesting opportunities that they have seen. And one of the most interesting areas that is emerging is space as a service. Just like the way you say software as a service, space as a service is emerging as another area. So we have a lot of such things happening, which are so interesting and so much opportunity is there. So let me talk about some other very interesting opportunities that have happened due to what I said was the asteroid that has hit India, which is COVID. The last 1 year has created many challenges for India and the world. What has become a reality that COVID is here to stay for a long time, unfortunately. Many variants and multiple waves are coming. We may end up having COVID as an endemic, where we may need to get a jab every year. So fundamentally, it's just going to be like the common flu. We will need to be prepared to handle COVID. So many of our habits have changed. We are now in a totally new world. And this world is a world of masks and social distancing, etc., etc. But each challenge, and you will notice this has happened many times in the past, each challenge creates opportunities. And the human minds actually creates absolutely new solutions. So the whole idea of, for example, work from home, work from anywhere is taking root. People, we are not going to go back to where we were pre-COVID. A lot of people will actually work from home. What does this really mean to the world? It basically means lower cost to enterprises, reduction in daily and unnecessary travel, and major impact on our carbon footprint as a result, which is a huge positive. So work from home solutions have to be devised. And there are a lot of opportunities there also. For example, if you look at, you should have tools for managing time of executives and coders at home. So people would like to know from their main server and main facility in the office, how are people actually working at home? Are they utilizing the time fully, or they are moving around and not doing enough work? You need to manage them because they're far away. So you need tools to do that. Similarly, since security has become a very big issue, cyber security, you need to have cyber security at every station at home, which is connected to the enterprise. So there's a new concept that is emerging, which is called mesh security, where you actually make sure that each and every human being in the mesh is absolutely secure. So lots of tools could be required for this. And similarly, you will need, since this will go into a very large number globally, you need low cost hardware for home internet. So all kinds of hardware and software that is required to run internet and devices at home have to be created, and we have to look at newer ways of doing these things. Interestingly, as a result of people working from anywhere, people working from home, technologies like uh, VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality, are becoming very critical. As a matter of fact, one of the startups that we have invested in called Trezi has actually created a collaborative tool using AR and VR for making architects work together in teams sitting anywhere in the world. So that is really where newer opportunities are coming up, and startups are seeing such opportunities and grabbing them. Now, those who want to continue to come to work to the office, newer businesses have emerged, bigger and bigger. One of them is office sanitization services. I couldn't have thought of something like this before, but these are new services that have emerged. And therefore, these are all solutions that startups are creating. People have created newer devices for sanitization. As a matter of fact, one of the startups that I'm working with has created a COVID attenuation device. That is, if you put it in a room of 1,000 square feet, it actually attenuates COVID. So if you have 20 people sitting in a classroom and 2 people have COVID, the other 18 will not get COVID. So these are the kind of innovations that are happening due to this new asteroid called COVID. The biggest change has been in the education industry. With schools and colleges closed, there are many new opportunities. And of course, what is happening is things like online tutoring, online assessment and online exams, and tools for those, or online webinars. And interestingly, one of my startups, which I work with, has created a solution for how to get children to spend their time valuably at home. And this is a company called FSM Buddy. What have they done? They've looked at this opportunity and they said, all parents are complaining today that these children are sitting at home. How much can we do in terms of online teaching? So they get fed up and they need some way of doing something different and learning something different. So this company came up with the whole idea of creating online courses to teach extracurricular things like music, dance, art, craft, life skills. So today, this company is becoming very successful because they have created something which had never existed before. And all of this has happened because of COVID. Now, due to COVID also, if we look, the health and wellness industry is completely changing. And telemedicine is taking health services all over India and the world. It is also creating opportunities for startups to look at creating devices, medtech devices at home. And these are called point of care products. So if you can create a ventilator for home, you can create an oxygen concentrator for home, you can create a defibrillator at home. All these products are not existing today. Most of these products are very, very expensive. So we need to actually come up with solutions for this. As a matter of fact, during COVID, we set up a task force from IIT Kanpur, and I worked with IIT Kanpur students to create a ventilator in 90 days flat. That was, of course, an ICU ventilator. But what I'm talking about is point of care products and a whole bunch of other medical products that can be kept at home. And in addition, newer services have emerged, which are called point of care services. And one of them happens to be an ex-HCL person who created a company called Portia that delivers ICU services at home. Because of COVID, a lot of people could not go to hospitals for their other diseases. Some of them needed chemotherapy at home for cancer. Now, they were very scared to go to the hospital for this. So they all got serviced by this organization called Portia. So it's all about looking at the opportunity, seizing that opportunity, and using your imagination to create solutions which are required. So fundamentally, what does a startup do? A startup basically looks at a problem in a completely new way and devises a solution. So every problem is where it all starts for startups. So now let's look at another nice opportunity that emerged last year, which was online delivery of medicines. Again, using a lot of technology, this has taken off. As a matter of fact, there is a little company that I'm looking at for investing called TrueMeds. What they have done is that they have actually gone and done a deal with medical companies for equivalent products, and they can reduce the total medicine bill of everybody by 50 to 70% and using very good products. So that's where it is all happening. Newer and newer ways of looking at the opportunity that has got presented due to COVID. And of course, e-commerce and food delivery has taken off in a huge way. People are delivering homemade food. People are looking at e-commerce in a totally new way. And digitalization of delivery process to kiranas and aggregators and stockists has taken off. So there are many, many companies like this, like Max Wholesale, Udan, which have actually come up in the last couple of years. And a lot of people are now working on e-enabling kiranas using mobiles. So again, it's all a question of a problem, a situation, and an environment which has created an opportunity for a startup to look at the problem in a very different and unique way. Now, entertainment is a major area where changes took place last year. If you look at what happened to cinemas being closed and somewhere being partially open even today, social distancing and all of this created issues for the entertainment industry. And therefore, lot of newer companies came up to create interesting content for people like Amazon, Hotstar, Netflix, etc. And newer channels came up also. And interestingly, now a lot of people are looking at gaming channels, gaming software, gaming hardware. As a matter of fact, recently, one of the gaming software companies called Nazara went for a IPO in the last 3 days. And it was an extremely successful IPO. So what are you really seeing? You're seeing that entertainment is being delivered in a totally different way than what was happening pre-COVID. And a lot of these changes that have happened due to COVID are likely to carry on and create a completely new area to succeed. So I think there's a huge opportunity that has been created, and I would like you to now take you to some of the other newer areas that are emerging. And again, these are areas that are emerging due to a problem. And as I said, a startup looks at a problem and finds an innovative solution. Sometimes startups look at what has happened in another country and then innovate and make it suitable for India, which is what pretty much uh, Flipkart did. When they copied Amazon, they took the whole strategy of Amazon, brought it to India, but then added a new Indian innovation to it, which all of you know, which is cash on delivery. So let's look at mobility. It's a very favorite subject of mine because I believe that the biggest uh, change is happening in how we move around the country, how we move around the world. And mobility is going to be all pervasive in terms of what is needed today. We've had enough of the fuel based products like cars. I think the time has come in a very big way to come with alternates. And therefore, the complete revolution of electric mobility has happened. And it is happening in a very big way. And there are lots and lots of opportunities coming up today for startups. So, as a matter of fact, there are close to 5 to 8 startups in India who've created electric products, both two-wheelers and three-wheelers. And it is not going to just stay here. I think it's all going to go much more fast forward. So where is it going to go? The way I see it is that our streets are still very, very crowded. So if the streets are so crowded, then even if you are traveling in an Uber or an Ola or and a Rapido, which uses three-wheelers and two-wheelers for moving you around, it's still not solving the problem. It has solved one problem, which is it's available when you need, and it is cheaper than what it was earlier, and it's cleaner and better. But the situation of crowded streets has not gone away. And therefore, both Uber and Ola are currently experimenting with creating flying cars. As a matter of fact, the thought is that flying cars will be created by many of startups in America. As a matter of fact, Uber is testing some of these products today. Ola, I believe, is also looking at flying cars. And I have a startup whom I have seen who has created a flying car already in India. So I think this is going to be a huge, huge change because flying cars will not just solve one problem, they will also create a completely new problem. Where to park these? What kind of locations are required? Do you have to have stations for flying cars, just the way you have stations for trains, or you have aerodromes for aircraft? So again, there'll be a huge change that will take place in the whole environment around the flying car. Therefore, this is going to be a very interesting opportunity for startups to look at. Now, one of the biggest challenges that has come around is that when you have an electric car, you also need electricity to charge it, and you need battery technology. Both these are resulting in a negative situation in terms of carbon footprint because the electricity in a country is hugely created from coal. So if you're going to use coal to create electricity, which then powers an electric vehicle, which is supposed to be carbon neutral, it cannot be carbon neutral. So we need to do something about how do we produce electricity that charges these cars? And how do we create batteries that are also can be carbon plus, and I would say totally green. So battery technology is where there is a huge opportunity. And I do remember IIT Kanpur has created an alternative to a lithium ion battery. We need more and more research to be done on this in India. And we need to create Indian solutions which can be absolutely unique. Again, when you look at the lithium ion battery, the challenge that you face is that the lithium that you import, a majority of that is available only in China. So, this is where the issues are, and we need to look at an Atmanirbharta here also. Let's go on to a very interesting subject where there's a lot of work that has happened in the last 10-15 years. And you're finally seeing the result of research done in this area, and which is quantum computing. Quantum computing is something that is becoming more and more needed by many governments. And as a matter of fact, many large companies like Google have created their own quantum computers. China today is operating a few quantum computers also, and the US and everybody. A lot of world, a lot of lot of countries are actually participating in this new revolution of quantum computing. So as quantum computing arrives, and China has a quantum computer, and if they use quantum technology, they can break any cybersecurity capability in the country. They can break into electric grids, they can break into our financial systems, they can break into our stock exchange, and they can bring us down on our knees. So what do we need to do? So therefore, a newer area that has emerged, and that is called quantum cybersecurity. Interestingly, there is a company that has been born out of research done in IIT Madras called QNU, and they have created a quantum cybersecurity product. So I think there will be many companies in the world that will start to look at quantum computing and quantum cybersecurity, and all of this is going to happen in the next 1 to 4 years. I think that is when quantum computing will arrive on the scene in a reasonable big way. Now let's look at the impact of something that is going to happen in India soon enough, which is the launch of 5G. The launch of 5G will generate tremendous opportunities for startups, because the speed at which communications will happen will be phenomenally better than what is available on 4G. And within 5G also, there are huge opportunities that will be there for creating hardware and software products. As a matter of fact, I've been looking at a startup that has created an alternative, radio-based alternative to fiber that can connect cars for telecom companies wherever they can't use fiber. Fiber is required, but you want to go to locations where fiber cannot be used, or fiber becomes very expensive to use, then radio becomes a very interesting opportunity. So therefore, 5G itself is creating huge opportunities for startups to look at software products, hardware products, and solutions. I'm sure a lot of you have been looking at what's happened to drones. Again, India has been taken a leadership position on drones. There is a proper drone policy in the country. There is a proper drone software that's been developed to manage drones in the country. And something like a drone stack has also been developed. So drones are becoming huge opportunities. Many IIT students all over the country have created different kinds of drones. Some drones are meant for specific purposes. Excuse me. Some drones are created for specific purposes like the military, the defense, some of them for government requirements, policing, etc., etc. And some drones are required for very simple day-to-day requirements, like photography. Okay, so that is where China has taken a huge leadership position. There's just one company in China that has a drone that is pretty much available at a very low price of $1,000 to $2,000. And as a result, that company now owns 70% of the world market in drones for home usage, for usage of photographers. So interestingly, there are so many people working on this today to create a low-cost drone solution for competing with this Chinese company. And before I end, I would like to mention that one area which I've been personally following on is this whole issue of Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Industry 4.0 is the newer way that you do manufacturing. And in India, a lot of manufacturing is going to move to India because newer and newer incentives have been made available by the current government for people to manufacture in India and make India a manufacturing hub. So, Industry 4.0 is likely to take a very prominent position in the country, and it would be good for all of you to look at Industry 4.0 and see where you can fill in the holes as an opportunity if you want to create something totally new for Indian requirements. So this is where I'd like to end. I can carry on and on talking about emerging opportunities and newer opportunities for startups, but I thought today I would open your mind towards looking at what is happening in the world, what is happening in India, what is happening due to this asteroid-like situation that COVID has created, and what is likely to happen in the near future. Nobody has seen future beyond 3 to 4 years, but this is where I would like to end, and I would now hand it over to Manoj.
Sir, there are some questions from students. Would you like
Sure.
to pick?
Sure.
Okay, Siddhant Gupta, come forward with your question.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Dr. Chaudhary. This is Siddhant Gupta here. First of all, thank you for delivering such a wonderful lecture on new innovations in the COVID times. So my question is on one topic that you had covered during the talk on this one product developed, a COVID attenuation product. Am I right? So
Yes.
like you put it in a room and then if 2 people have COVID, then the other 18 won't get COVID. So keeping efficiency and effectiveness aside, what is the extent to which it is currently marketed? Like how many people in the world are actually using this product at this point?
Well, actually, it's a startup that I'm mentoring. So I have all the data. Currently, it is just launched on Amazon last week, and it is being made available to many corporates in the country. So these people have originally started in India, but they've already got export business from the Middle East, and they're actually starting to sell there. They've just established their complete distribution line and their manufacturing line. So they are pretty much ready to now start to sell in mass volume. So I think all that will happen pretty soon. And as a matter of fact, you can go to Amazon today and pick up one, and you'll get the delivery in 2 days.
Okay. What is the name of the product again, sir?
It's called Shycocan.
Shycocan. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
Bhaskar Singhania.
Sir, but how did they test that product? I mean, they should be testing that, right? Like, they really have to put some people who are affected with COVID in between people who don't have, and they have to test it based on that. And how did they do that? I mean,
it has
before
been
product.
tested. It has been tested in many labs all over the world, and the tests were done in the US. Tests were done in Mexico. Tests were done in Europe, and as a matter of fact, it already has what is called the US FDA approval for selling into the United States for COVID purposes. It also has a CE certificate from Europe to sell there. We also have a certificate from CDSO in the Health Ministry in India. And as a matter of fact, IIT Guwahati has tested it very thoroughly.
Bhaskar Singhania.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Thanks a lot for the wonderful session. In just around 40 minutes, you gave us a broad view around the world, a journey around the world, so to say. And I'm especially delighted to see that you're actually mentoring a lot of startups and investing in them as well. So my question is twofold. First is, sir, what are the kind of opportunities that you foresee in the education or the edtech domain going forward? I mean, there are buzzwords like personalization, gamifications, and things like that these days. So, what opportunities that you see there? That's number one. And
So
yeah,
actually, education, the biggest challenge that I have seen, you see, I'm chairman of Triple IT in Naya Raipur, and it's located in a far out place, pretty much like Kharagpur. So Naya Raipur is a small little place, and it is the whole state has many, many rural students who come to study IT in this Triple IT. So when we were actually trying to do online delivery of courses, the biggest challenge that we faced was connectivity, and the biggest challenge that we faced was having a proper device at home. So, as a matter of fact, today there is an opportunity to create a bigger device than a phone to deliver online education. So, I think that's the kind of opportunity that I would feel would be very real and needed today.
okay. Okay, thank you, sir. So also, I belong to Chhattisgarh myself, and Raipur is a native place as well. So yeah, I can adhere to what you are speaking about the connectivity and all those issues there.
It's a
And
huge challenge.
yeah, definitely, sir. And then second, uh, I really wanted to know what is the best possible way to reach out to you. Maybe not now, maybe in some time down the line when we have certain ideas and we want some thoughts and insights from your end. What's the best way?
I'm available on, I'm there on Facebook, and I'm there on LinkedIn, and I'm there on, I'm available through my email also. So I can share that. Manoj ji will have all my details, so I can share that with him. And it can be circulated to all of you. I don't have any issues by anybody calling me, talking to me, sending me messages, etc., etc.
That will be great. Thanks a lot, sir. Also, sir, I had another very brief question. So currently, I'm also working at a startup which is basically in AR VR, building AR VR solutions for clients like the virtual showrooms and things like that. So I was fascinated when you spoke about Crazy, and I just had a look up to that as well. So was interested in having a snapshot of that. So what is it basically? If you can just speak about that.
Just go online and check out Trezi, TREZZI. That's the name of the company. And they are located in Noida, close to Delhi.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir. I'll look that up.
Anybody else? Any other students would like to ask something? Ravi Karthik, go ahead.
Hello, sir. And I have one more question. That is, I mean, I myself am from electronics department. So this field of semiconductors that you were talking about, like the chip manufacturing world, I have been looking into it, and there were articles why India was not able to produce it from a long time because there were some cost issues. The cost required for manufacturing is too high. Even if we do that, there will be our competitors who will be selling that at much lower price, and that has been the case, and it is still the case. I mean, we are still stuck in that loop, right? So why a person who wants to start a business will start such a business which is highly risky? I mean, at least at the point that we are in,
Well,
which costs a lot of capital, I mean.
Well, I have done a lot of research in this area because I advise the Semiconductor Association, and we have created a completely new model for what should be done in semiconductors, and we have presented it to the government. As a matter of fact, the government has come out with an expression of interest for people to manufacture semiconductors in India. So we are looking at two major areas where things can be done, where the costs are not likely to be so high. Number one is GAN. So GAN is a technology which will enable, which is a lot more cheaper than to set up in the country. So GAN semiconductor manufacturing will start to happen, and I would presume in the next 2 years, because there are a lot of people who are interested in GAN technology. And as a matter of fact, Indian Institute of Science is setting up a GAN semiconductor manufacturing facility internally as well, which has been approved by the government. I'm part of that committee that approved that. And the next area that we have identified is that we should not just look at cutting edge semiconductors. We should look at semiconductor requirements that are needed for large number of volume products in India. And we came to the conclusion by looking at aggregating all these requirements and making sure that none of those imports happen, is by saying that we can create a 28 nanometer facility in the country. And if we create a 28 nanometer facility, you need not have a new semiconductor plant. It could be an old semiconductor plant, which you can bring down here, or you could convince one of the companies like Samsung to move their 28 nanometer facility here and utilize that for taking care of aggregating requirements in the country. So there are lots and lots of opportunities there. But outside the semiconductor opportunity, as I said earlier, there is the opportunity to create a large number of fabless companies in India. And the government is now coming out with a new fabless policy, which is going to be very similar to the manufacturing policy, which they've called production linked incentives. So they are going to actually create a production linked incentives policy for fabless companies. And they're setting aside close to 1,000 crores for giving incentives to startups to do fabless companies.
Okay, so thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Please go ahead. I think so students actually have classes in the next hour.
Sure. Let's close here then.
So we'll close here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I understand you are heading so many global organizations, so you're so busy. In spite of your busy schedule, you have kindly found some time for talking to the students and sharing pearls of wisdoms with them. You are at the forefront of the technology, emerging technologies, so getting something from you is invaluable. Thank you very much. Thank you on behalf of all the students and from the core of my heart. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being here with you. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye, sir.
Sir?
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, I had a doubt on one of the answers to one of the questions in class test 3.
Yeah, bolo.
Sir, in that